Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks Futures and Forex Market Preview for Tuesday, the 23rd of February, 2021. As we wrap up the month of February already, here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. By the way, Forex wasn't very exciting. We did make a little money on the pound dollar for the week, but for the day, and we still have a trade going. So that's good. But let's look at the stock market side. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market in futures form. Doesn't look like much happened. We lost 30 points. Futures are currently showing a small gap up for tomorrow. Doesn't mean anything. But we did actually, the NASDAQ side was pretty weak, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So crude oil was up $1.14 to 62.86. Gold was up $4.90 back into the range it was in prior to the other day or two. So like I said, here's the S&P cash index, lost 30 points. NASDAQ 100 lost 357. Now this is the one that looks bigger, right? Real big break, gap down, went lower, never had any strength all day. And it was funny because even when, if you looked at the advanced decline ratio in the middle of the day, it was like NASDAQ negative 320 and New York plus 260, which means like for the whole market, like we were kind of like almost a couple more stocks down than up on both sides, NASDAQ and New York. But by the end of the day, that's not what that was, because it was looking at some of the biggest NASDAQ stocks. They were definitely in trouble, and they kept selling off. We'll get to that in a minute. The stocks, here's the thing. Remember this? We had the 13 sell signal on the stocks yesterday, down 121 points. That's a big move on the stocks. So there are definitely things here lining up. The NASDAQ one, the biotech's down 125 points. It's a new low for the last 2 weeks. Russell 2000 down 15. That's not a big deal. The VIX closes up $1.40. Back off that static trend line at red. The red static trend line, that's fine. The trend closes at 0.73. Puts the 10-day at 0.99, which is neutral. NASDAQ volume, almost 6.5 billion shares. Still the lightest volume day in a month. That is interesting. Remember last year when we had the down days, the volume was heavy, and the up days, the volume was not? Well, here we go. We finally had a down day. The volume is not heavy, though. That's interesting. Might mean that these things don't matter as much, but we will find out what happens. On the NASDAQ side, advanced decline ratio is negative 844, so more stocks ended up closing down than up by the end of the day. On the New York, negative 165. Google loses 34.55. Apple down $3.87. Netflix loses $6.44. Amazon down 69.16. Tesla down 66.80. That's a big drop for Tesla, obviously. Facebook down $1.23. None of these look great, right? Zoom down 22.92. Goldman Sachs, on the other hand, up $1.25. New closing highs in the banking sector. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, down $1.09. The Dow gains just 27 points, which is almost nothing. Bitcoin, which did suffer a bit of a sell-off overnight Sunday to Monday, sitting now around 51,320, and it is what it is. In terms of intra-day action, 5-minute candles. So here's the ES. You can see we gapped down, a couple weird candles, then we made our way back up for about 40 minutes, came back. Never really tested the lows again. That was what was interesting on the broad market. Over lunch, we broke out the highs, came back up, and basically, if you can't see the other candles here, but if we filled the gap, if I made this like the equals 2, where you should be able to see that, then we did fill the gap from the prior day. But then we rolled over after that and back down towards near the lows. NASDAQ side, much weaker all day long. Note the 13 buy signal late in the day. So it is what it is from that perspective. All right. So in terms of economic data for Tuesday, there's a couple things overnight, including the European CPI, but we've got the housing price index, S&P housing price index at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning here in the U.S. Consumer confidence and Richmond manufacturing index at 10. And that's it. Everything else is just what it is. So we'll just see what we get. We'll see if we can get what, it usually takes more than one day of downward, big upward to get things moving if you're trying to get a reversal in the markets. And we'll see if we can get a continuation. Charts as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading Tuesday.